Welcome all. Thank you so much for being here on your Friday evening with us, or wherever you are in the world, your Saturday morning fun fun. We've got people that are probably going into Saturday here already. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys, for tonight's afternoon Divine Mirror session. I'm so thrilled. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just spotlight her now. Add spotlight. I'm so thrilled to introduce you guys to this woman. I'm going to tell a little short story of how she came into my world and her impact on my own life that she has not fully heard yet. So I have your book here. From questioning to knowing. I first came across your body of work on Straight Talk for the Soul with Carrie Murray. And I felt such a beautiful connection with you, with your call, with your voice, the words that you were sharing. It just touched me deeply. I started researching, found this book, and was guided to purchase it. This was probably 4.5, maybe years ago. I was deeply searching for what I believe to be my soul purpose, my why I was here. I was working in commercial real estate. I had been on my journey for a few years, and I knew that that was not it. I knew it was a part of the journey, but it was not the end all be all. It was not what brought me joy and lit me up and brought me fulfillment. And I had several of your prayers that I was saying every single day. And for about probably 2 to 3 months. And then I was called into the office at this company that had just hired me. They gave me a huge severance, and it was right after COVID. And they said, there's just no space for you. There's no work for you. And I realized it was what I had been praying for, quite literally. And it was such a huge pivotal moment for me in my journey. And it really took me on the journey of what I do here today. And truly, I mean this, your prayers were an integral piece and part of that for me. So
No, you're
thank
making me
you.
cry. Thank you. It's so beautiful
Yeah.
here.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you so much. Like,
you.
that's why when I said it's an honor, like, it really is an honor to have you here, to be speaking with you personally, outside of the desire to introduce you and your work to everyone here and the understanding of the Akashic Records to everyone here. Like, you've been your prayers, and I feel like I know you because of knowing your body of work. So thank you so much for, yeah, the ways in which I feel like we've been weaving and working together for many, many years now.
Thank you. It's just, I mean, it's so beautiful to hear because I now have 4 books out there. And, you often don't hear how they've affected people.
Yeah.
They're people are buying them.
Mhm.
But are they reading them? Are they affecting them? Is anything happening? And so, wow, that's That's really huge, a huge shift in your life, and, oh, I'm
Yeah.
so honored to be here and join you and everyone.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
so excited that you've really stepped into your gifts and made this huge shift, and, doing these summits is just amazing. So, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's been really beautiful too. Some of the other speakers, Alyssa Rushton, for example, she has an energy school, and she said, Lisa, she was like, so many of the people that she has worked with have studied underneath you and have trained and learned to read the records through your work, through your training. So you are a bit of a superwoman. You're out there speaking all and I mean, you're all over the place, and I love it. It lights me up so much. And I share your prayers often I have for years. I'm constantly like, I use prayers as like like the replacement to medicine, right? Like, this is the energy medicine that I offer. I'm like, I've got a prayer for you. I got one.
I've got the perfect prayer for you.
I've got the perfect prayer for you.
Right, I love that. Well,
Yeah.
while we're talking books, I
Yeah.
published 2 new books last year in 2023. I published 2 books, which was kind of a wild and crazy thing for me to do.
That's a lot to bring through in 1 year.
Well, luckily, this book, Your Soul Has a Plan.
Mm.
Um, I've got to just see everything. It's very wonky with the background, but Your Soul Has a Plan. Awaken to your life purpose through your Akashic record, and all of them are on Amazon. But I started writing it about 2 years ago, and I kept not quite finishing it. And the record keepers kept saying, it's not quite time yet. I'm like, okay, great. I'll forget it for a while and do other stuff, right? I'm already busy. And then all of a sudden it just all came together, and it was, and I got a publisher, and it was published in January of 2023. So Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Life Purpose Through the Akashic Record is all about really the plan we wrote before we were born. And so much of this is really what's in your Akashic Records, right? It explains what a plan is, and why we have trauma and challenges in our lives, and why we pick sometimes crazy families that people think, why would I ever pick that? If this is my plan, what, was I nuts? And so it really talks all about that. So if people want to dive deeper into understanding, their life and the contracts and the gifts and the talents and the karmic patterns and this whole huge plan we wrote, that's a great, great book. And then the second one is called Akasha. And so it is really all about the Akashic Record. It's Akasha, spiritual experiences of accessing the infinite intelligence of our soul. And it's a common sentience book. So common sentience books, there's now going to be about 15 of them out there. And they're an amazing kind of primer for everyone who's on a spiritual path. So there's ones about angels and signs, how we get signs, about shamanism and sound healing, and of course Akasha. And there's ones about nature, like nature spirits and animals, right? How we can talk to our animals. All of these. There's Neil Donald Walsh just published God Talk, right? He's the well-known author of Conversations with God. So he just did God Talk. So it's very, very fun to be part of that group and to bring through, to be part of kind of a new sort of not dictionary, what do they call it? Encyclopedia. It's our new Encyclopedia Britannica, right? All the spiritual common sentience. So again, the newest one, Akasha, came out in just August. So
Wow.
very fun. And then the one you have is a little bit older. The From Questioning to Knowing is a little bit older. So
yeah, you've been in this space a while, and you you have, and I like to say, I called you I called you, what was the word exactly? A spiritual celebrity. I was like, she has been in this space. And even the people that, you've got Jack Canfield, who wrote the foreword on this book, you can flip through here. It's Marcy Steinhoff, thank you. You've got all these beautiful beings that have been in this space. You guys, y'all are the wisdom elders in so many ways. And again, so much of an honor. Thank you again for being a part of this experience. I deeply appreciate it. And
pleasure.
I feel that I would love, because I get excited about the Akashic Records, and I know that's what everybody else is really excited about as well. But I really want to get to know a little bit more about you first and your unique journey, because I'm curious. I perhaps you were. There's always the opportunity that you were born with these gifts, and it was just a situation where you were always open. But I have a feeling that you had real human experiences where you were navigating difficulties and challenges, your own unique story that got you where you are today until you opened up into these gifts and into this work. So I would love whatever you feel called to share as it relates to your story.
Oh, of course, I would love to. So, I'm a little mix of all of the above, honestly. So when I was 3 years old, I kind of remember standing in the kitchen, and my mother was cooking, and I'm sure, trying to tell her I didn't like whatever it was she was cooking, because I was a very finicky eater. And but I didn't really have the words. My language wasn't that great at 3. And really, I have this strange memory of looking at my hands and thinking, "Oh, I'm trapped in a body again. And it was almost like I popped out of my body. I remembered being an etheric soul, just communicating, right, without words, with two of my soul sisters, two of my soul family members. I just saw these three etheric souls just sharing energy. And I was like, darn, I don't want to be here. I want to go home. So, my mother was really very sweet. And she was like, you are home, honey,
Oh.
And so, from that point on, my young years until I was 13, I really just kind of forgot about it, right? I do remember being kind of afraid of the ghost or that I would see standing in my doorway sometimes. And I remember telling my mom, and um she was just an interesting character because she was a kind of non-believer believer. So, I was born in the 50s, and so she, was growing up in the, 30s, 40s, and she was more scientific. They were not religious. And so it was science or religion back then. And so both my mother and father had left any religion behind. And so there was no church in my life or any other kind of thing like that. But my mother would have these weird experiences. And so I remember her looking at me saying, oh, it's just my father. Tell him to go away and he'll stop bothering you. He's just watching over you. I'm like, okay, I'm probably 5 or 6. I don't know. I'm just like, go away. And he did. And so um, I'd have these, but that was kind of, then you didn't think about it. You went off to school and you were
Mhm.
playing and all of these things. Although I have to tell you this kind of very funny aside, because my mother passed 23 years ago now, and I can hear her. I've heard her pretty clearly since she passed. And a couple of years ago, I had a reading with a friend of mine who's a phenomenal medium, like, all the names and all the details. And I can see and talk to dead people, but not that kind of detail. I'm not a medium in that way. I'm not really channeling the dead person. I can kind of see, feel, get information. So I was curious because, anyway, I had a lot of other friends who had died along the years. And
Mm.
so I went to this medium and I wanted to talk to my friends. But of course, my mother shows up and 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 then he said, "Oh, this is very interesting. There's like a really kind of old, and I don't know how he said it. So almost like a really old ghost, or you know, like a very old man who's showing up. He says his name is George. Do you know a George?" And I thought, the only George I ever knew, or the only George I know of, was my grandfather, who died when I was 3, who used to hang out and watch over me. So there's my mom bringing in my grandfather, and the medium says, "Clara, do you know a Clara?" I'm like, "Yep, that was my grandmother. That was my mom's mom and my mom's dad. There they are." She's dragging them in to say hello. It was so cute. My mother was just a crack up. So anyway, she was a perfect mother, right, for me, because even though
Mhm.
she wasn't spiritual, even though she said she didn't really believe in this stuff, she had these strange experiences. She did say that, before anyone in the family died, like one of the family members who had already crossed over would come to her. So I'm like, oh, you're such a dichotomy, mom. Anyway,
Mhm.
um, but so I went through my childhood kind of with experiences, but not, it wasn't a family thing. No one was helping or teaching me.
Mhm.
And then when I was 13 years old, my one of my two soul sisters, my two best friends, um, she had a brain tumor and they did surgery and she ended up in a coma.
Mm.
And I really felt like I was supposed to heal her. I had kind of past life flashbacks of lifetimes as a healer. Now I'm 13 and I'm thinking, I haven't even been to church. I don't even know how to pray. How am I supposed to heal her? Right. And she cross the next day. And that was, of course, a big trauma because I felt really responsible, right, in those kind of crazy ways that we do. But I started to study. That was a huge trigger for me to start to study healing and spirituality. So I started reading everything I could get my hands on. Luckily, I was living in California in the late 60s, early 70s. So I read all sorts of interesting books back then, and continued on to study philosophy at university all the way until my second soul sister died in a freak car accident.
Mm.
And I decided I was pretty well over the world. I was not going to do whatever I came to do. So, it's interesting when we're conscious and unconscious, right? Kind of at the same time.
Mhm.
So I was so angry at God, at source, at the world, that these two beautiful young women were taken away, right? And I felt abandoned, and I decided it wasn't worth doing what I came to do. So, yeah, I went down my own human rabbit hole, let's just say. 'Cause, again, it was like the 70s and the 80s in California. I'm like from San Francisco. There was a big rabbit hole to fall down back then. So,
I bet.
and so I did. I had my whole, myriad human experiences, which are weirdly important.
Mhm,
Years later,
mhm.
when I started to access the Akashic Records, and I said, oh my gosh, did I totally screw up everything, right? Here I'm like 19 and I'm very awake, and I've been studying spirituality already for 6 years, and I'm only 19, and I could have become, a psychic teacher or something at 20. And
Mhm.
did I really mess up my life? And they laugh, of course, because they're pure love. And they kind of laugh and say, no, you wouldn't be who you are today if you hadn't had all those experiences. Right. So that was just, to me, a huge lesson for
Mm.
me. And I really share that because I know that that is true for all of us. Even all of the pain and the different, challenges or traumas or physical issues that we've had, we write this soul plan to have these experiences to learn and grow as an ancient and infinite soul. And so they really are choice. There is no aspect that has anything to do with being a victim of these experiences. And so, often these things, even like illnesses, will show up to trigger us. So Marsha's death triggered me to remember the truth of who I was, that I had already forgotten when I was 3. So I remembered that at 13. And then I got, triggered by Shubi's death at 19, and kind of went down my rabbit hole. And it was actually another illness that woke me back up again. So I ended up with like really bad chronic fatigue in my 30s, and I went to an acupuncturist who said, I can help you heal your body, but your soul has something it wants to say to you, and I don't know what it is. So go to my good friend who's an amazing psychic, and hopefully she can help you. And I did. I'm like, okay, sure. And she said, you're a healer. And I was like, "Oh, I forgot." Right. Right. So 20 years later, I remembered, at like 33, what I knew at 13. But again, it is so much a journey. It is a process. It is not a destination. And I think for us at this time in history specifically, it's even more important to remember that, to feel into that, to really accept that, and see our lives as really an adventure, as a fun and exciting, sometimes trying journey. Um, because we're going to continue down that road as we ascend into the fourth and the fifth dimensions.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that, because I think the message that you brought forward is really important. I think so many of us start on this journey and begin to question the path, the choices that we've made, wondering if we took a wrong turn somewhere in there and just completely botched up something, right? Like, where would I be had I not And the answer is exactly where you are. Like it was all perfectly designed. And we may not have that view from where we are right now, but I bet you wait a little bit longer and you'll be able to look back and be like, oh my gosh, of course. Like it was perfection. Everything was quite literally perfection. Mm.
It really is. And again, that's why I teach people to access their Akashic records, because this is the kind of information
Mhm.
that you can find in your Akasha. And so that you can start to understand and unravel some of these things that are often mysteries to us. Why would I do that? Why was that a good idea? Why?
Mhm.
You know, and then we start to understand. I mean, for me, a lot of the kind of the crazy years, um, I really had a lot of compassion for other souls who got really stuck and who really could not, kind of get out of the mud, and who fell really, um, you know, into alcoholism and
Mhm.
drug addiction, and a lot of the quagmires of our world, and so it woke up, or made my compassion way
Mhm.
stronger than it probably ever would have been if I hadn't had those experiences, if I hadn't had friends who had that experience,
Mhm.
and I say all my friends, really. I've lost almost a half a dozen good
Wow.
friends, which is an interesting thing. But I also know that a lot of light workers come in with a mission, and they may not stick around for a full life. They may come in as a trigger, or they do something in specific, and when it's complete, they leave.
Mhm.
So, again, just letting ourselves move out of all judgment of everything is, challenging as that is, I know, but
Yeah.
um, it's another important piece, especially around the world at this time and what's happening in our world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking, just reflecting on, there's not any one person that I know that wasn't born into into spiritual families that didn't still also either turn off their light in some way or have their own unique set of challenges that they had to navigate. It's like, again, just anchoring in that knowing that we came here to have the human experience. We came here to undergo and witness what it was like to be asleep, let's say, or turn down our gifts and turn them off, and that's a very common thing. And I really do believe, because that's the alchemical journey of growing into greater love and compassion that we're really here for.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if we didn't want to come here, we honestly would not have, and we always laugh and say there's a waiting list out there for,
Mhm.
bodies because and it's so important that all the light workers who, have some of the kind of energetic codes or keys that many of us have been around, so long, that we're part of the creator beings that kind of
Mhm.
made some of this mess. And so it's a big, big story. I think for most of us, it's so, so much bigger than we can even imagine. And
Yeah.
even what I know more than, what more than what I know, there's so much I can't even understand, like that get glimpses of and think,
Mm.
all right, well, maybe next year I'll figure that one out. I don't understand. It's like so big because we're so much more than the kind of simple levels and layers that we often think of as like humans, and then maybe there's other beings on other planets, and then there's angels, and that's nothing compared to really what's out there. So
Yeah.
we're in
Yeah.
for a fun ride, I think, because I think a lot more of it will really start to show up over these next 10 years
Yeah.
in a good way.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be on the planet. I think it's the greatest show going on in the multiverse right now.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, and you are so right, because so many of them are here watching and waiting and
Yeah.
trying to help in the different realms, and all of these different people who channel some more of the galactics. It's
Yeah.
it's important, and it's empowering. So yeah.
It's exciting. It's an exciting time. So I would love to go into, so I guess the first question would be, how did your life shift when you started working within the Akashic Records, when you started using that as a tool for your own purposes?
Yeah. Well, it actually shifted a lot, because before the record keeper started talking to me, I was really an energy healer, intuitive for about 8 years. I had a little healing center. At that point, I had a family, and it was very sweet. I had this little healing center. When my kids were in school, I would see some clients and do energy healing and different kind of work, psychic readings, intuitive readings. And then the way it basically worked was, occasionally I would get this. Sometimes it would sound like a big voice, like a booming voice. Often it would be information that was, again, kind of out of my normal purview. It was like out of, what I usually saw, because it was more like about a soul plan. It was some of the past lives and those gifts and talents and where they're going and what they wanted to do. And it was like, kind of from my energy healing, was much more in the physical body, energy field, auric field kind of
Mhm.
realm. So it felt a little bit more physically oriented. And honestly, for me, a lot of the intuitive psychic reading was also because it was about what's in our energy fields, what's in our chakras. And so that was the work I was doing. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, bang, into this really huge expanded energy, these big libraries. And I just always think, wow, what the heck was that? You know? But it didn't happen that often. And what I realized in hindsight, again, is that when um, when a client and I could match vibrations, in a sense, when the client was high enough vibration and I go into the Akash, then we literally would, without me consciously doing anything.
Mhm.
Um, and I would get really be able to do an Akashic record reading for them, even though I didn't know that's what I was doing. But the interesting piece about that, and I think one of the things that was a great gift for me, even back then in the 80s and 90s, is that I was taught that there was an Akashic record library, but that it had a fence. So if
Mhm.
you did a healing for someone, right, you make a space in their energy field, you always want to fill them up with their highest energy. And so my teacher trained us to go to the gates of the Akashic record. So I knew there was this thing, right, which was more than most people knew back in the 80s
Mhm.
or 90s or even 2000s, right? That there was this place, this etheric energy field that's called the Akasha, or the Akashic Records. I would go up to the gates of my client's Akashic record and say, please, record keepers, can you fill my client up with their highest Akashic energy? And I could see it come in. Sometimes it looked like a waterfall. Sometimes it was almost like a symbol or an item. Maybe they were working on wanting to write a book, and I'd see a quill pen or, something. Um, and I'd be like, thank you, great, off we go. And that went on for 5 years until I finally got to a point where I could say something like, who the heck am I talking to anyway? Which was, I was a little slow on the draw, I have to say. So when that happened, then you know, it, oh my gosh. And so as I was able to literally start to talk to the record keepers and get information for myself about my soul plan, and why I came, and they said you came to help us re-anchor the Akashic energy back on the planet because we pulled it away 1,000 years ago.
Mm.
So basically the energy of the Akasha was moved high enough that people could really not even remember it, no longer really access it, unless maybe you were a mystic or a monk or somebody who, a spiritual life, or
Mhm.
someone kind of randomly like me. But we had come to re-anchor the energy really for this time in history, exactly for this time. So it was accessible to people because it had not been accessible for 1,000 years, because we as humans had misused the information, the guidance that we could get in the
Mm.
Akashic records. So they said it is time to bring the energy back, to anchor it back on Earth. And so I said, okay, I'll help, kind of. And it's always, to me, of course, they said, we want you to start a school. And, I always laugh because I had like 3 toddlers. I had twins, and their brother was only a year and a half older. So literally, I'd have, 2 2-year-olds and a 3-year-old running around the house. And I'm like, I don't think you have the right person. I think you got the wrong woman, I'm a mom with a bunch of babies in the suburbs, right? And so again, my points are very much about the fact that we all have self-doubt about stuff. Who
Mhm.
am I to do that? I'm a
Mhm.
mom in the suburbs. Um, and yet I had the ability, because now I could converse with the Akashic record keepers. I could say, why are you asking me to do this? Why me? Who am I? Right? And
Mhm.
they could say, you were one of us. You were an Akashic record keeper at the early point of your incarnation from source.
Mm.
And so you can hear us. That was a big plus. And it's like part of your soul's plan. And they didn't say it quite in those words back then, but it's part of what you came to do.
Mhm.
And that was, life changing to me, to really realize that that at some point in my soul's history,
Mhm.
that I had kept the records for humanity, and that's why I could hear them. That's why I could do this work, and why I, said yes, I will help. And so I have been doing that for almost 30 years.
What an incredible story. What an incredible journey of trust, surrender.
Yeah,
I,
and blessings, really, I have to
yeah.
say, I'm blessed to have, a husband who is, even though he's an accountant, he spiritual enough to be,
Mhm.
do whatever it is you came to do, honey. I want you to be happy, to support that, to support a healing center, to support all the
Yeah.
travel, all the work, all that I have done over all these years. So, I think that one of the things that's useful when we start to understand our soul's plan is that we do write soul contracts for support. And hopefully those are your significant partners. Those are the people that you marry if you get married, or those are your children or your parents. Like, I was blessed to have weirdly supportive parents. In wonderful.
That's incredible. I would love to, for anybody who may still not fully understand what the Akashic records are, that we've kind of touched on a field, a library, these little aspects. What would you say or explain, that the Akashic records are?
So the Akashic record is the recording of your soul's journey from the moment it individuates from source until it eventually goes back home and merges back in with source, which is probably billions of human years, but who knows? I've never got a number from that one. But our soul goes on this huge journey, and everything is automatically recorded in this etheric energy that we call the Akasha. So Akasha is a Sanskrit word that does translate to sky or ether. And I imagine the Akashic record as a library. It's just kind of a handy way, to think about these kinds of things, I think. And with every book in the library representing, say, one lifetime. So you have a whole huge library filled with thousands and thousands of books, because not only do we spend, probably 500 to 800 lifetimes on Earth, we live on so many other planets, planes, dimensions, realms. So all of that gets energetically recorded and is there. And the beautiful piece to me is that there are beings of light that we call the record keepers, and they're just pure source energy. They've never been human. They're not ascended masters. They're not angels. They're really like almost like a brand new individuated soul who wants to learn and be in service. And so they go and start working in the Akashic Library and learning about what's out there in the world, and what the options are, what kind of opportunities do I have, where could I go, what could I do, and so they're in service to us, and we have a whole team of them. So not only do we have a whole library to ourselves, each person has their very own personal library. You've got your own personal team of record keepers in service just to you. So I'd say utilize them.
Yeah, isn't that incredible, you guys? We're so more supported than we recognize and realize ourselves to be. And the Akashic Records is such an incredible and potent tool when you realize how multidimensional we really are. And what I love is this work helps us work in the other lifetimes that may be imprinting or impacting this particular lifetime energetically. And so, I guess what within your experience in working with Akashic Records, like what are the benefits or what are the reasons or what are some of the main reasons that people like to utilize the records to support their journey?
Well, as I, of course, do Akashic record reading and healing sessions with clients, often they come to me because they have questions that they can't answer. And sometimes it's, do I have a soul contract with this person that I'm thinking about divorcing, or I'm thinking about marrying? Um, or what's up with, kind of maybe this health challenge, or do I actually have a purpose? What is my purpose, right? And so we're curious. And of course, we love to kind of be on task and to understand our purposes and things like that. And so all of that information is part of your Akashic record. Literally, it's a relatively small part, because that's about the plan your soul wrote before you embodied this time, as well as all the lifetimes you've had on Earth, and many of the other lifetimes that might be relevant to this life on Earth. So we start to want to look at some, really, to me, the big why. Why am I here? Do I have a soul partner? Have I, finished what I came to do? Or is this soul contract complete? Can I get divorced yet? Or can I move on yet? Or is this really the highest and best person for me? So, of course, I love, love, love to teach people to access this information for themselves, because it's not like, it's just not a one-shot deal, right? I mean, I've been working in the records for, over 30 years, and the energy actually deepens. The Akashic Library expands. There is more information now than really ever before. So most of what we've been able to access in the Akasha, it has been our human past lives. But now I see so much more. I'm going to say a lot of it happens on Earth, but it's not so much human, or it's kind of pre the last 10,000 years that we think of as, we've been here for, this last 10 or 12,000 years. We've come to the planet as ETs we have been part of some of the planning and the doing and the creating or the undoing of the patterns and programs that is part of this earth. We've all had karmic patterns, right? So karma is actually about our soul's desire to learn and grow. It's not a punishment, right? It's not something that is done to us. It's our soul's choice to say, I want to learn about forgiveness. So, how am I going to do that? Oh, well, I'll have a relationship where I really need to forgive this person. And many of us do that again, kind of in patterns. So, say you choose to have a parent that is maybe an alcoholic or abusive, or they abandon you, and whatever that is, there's deep forgiveness that needs to be done in that relationship. And then sometimes we don't do the forgiveness, and then the next relationship shows up, and maybe it's a significant other, and they abandon us too, or they have a hidden alcoholic tendency, or however they abandon, however they disappoint, however that shows up. So we have these patterns until we understand it, and until we can really start to do the forgiveness work and the self-love work, those patterns continue on from one life to another. So to me, coming to understand the plan that your soul wrote, and of course this is one of the newest books I wrote last year. So you can find, because I know more people have been popping on, Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Life Purpose Through Your Akashic Record. So those watery backgrounds pop in and out. All available on Amazon. But the record keepers say part of your purpose is to complete your soul's plan. And your soul's plan is complicated. So that information is kind of continually available to you when you learn how to access your own Akashic records. So you can go in, and maybe you meet someone who's fascinating. Maybe you think that they'd be a good business partner. You can open your own Akashic records and say, do I have a soul contract with this person to create a business? Do I have past lives with this person? Do I have any karmic patterns with this person that could pop up, right? So these kind of questions can actually save you a whole lot of heartache and pain and challenges when you realize either what you're walking into, because it doesn't mean you want to run away, but at least if I know I'm walking into a business deal with somebody that I've got a karmic pattern with, I want to complete the karmic pattern. I want to work through it. I want to create the business, but it's probably not going to be as easy as if you had a business partner where you have a soul contract around support instead of around karma. So much information that you can access when you learn to access your own Akashic record, which is, of course, what I teach in online workshops.
I love that so much, because quite literally the uses are endless. The questions that you can ask are endless. And I think we kind of know that oftentimes the quality of questions that we ask are in direct correlation to, the answers that we receive. And we know that there's value in being great question askers. And so what if you had a way to tap into your soul's unique blueprint and into the library of your soul's experiences? And I love what she does is that kind of like, like teach a man to fish, right? There's value and going for a healing session if you need a healing session. There's value in receiving and seeing a psychic or a medium if but there's so much more beauty and the sovereign ability to be able to open it yourself, to be able to tap in whenever you have a question. And I think there's also so much value as well, sometimes just in, you can go deeper, obviously, with it, but there's a lot of value sometimes in just the validation. Like, okay, all right, this is part of the plan, right? Just knowing, okay, there is some friction here. There is a soul contract here that needs to be closed out. Let's undergo. It's such a powerful tool to support in so many different ways. But
Yep, absolutely. And to me, right, empowerment, that's, the real kind of energy of this time we're moving into.
Mhm.
So it becomes important for all of us to realize that we no longer need a mentor or a guru,
Mhm.
that we have this information. We are really ancient souls, I mean, like, sometimes when I look at it, I just kind of laugh. I'm like, oh, we're so effing old. Are you kidding me? And it just is true. And we're infinite. And so we have done so much. So
Yeah.
tapping into that alone can be, transformative. When I start to teach my students to kind of go back outside of time and space in the quantum field where there is no time space, to say reclaim gifts and talents from a past life where you were a, a teacher in an ancient mystery school. I often see, they're kind of showing me this image of a beautiful kind of white marble temple um, on a kind of cliff overlooking the ocean. And I just get that that was somewhere in Persia, which is
Mm.
probably, yes. Anyway, um, and to reclaim those gifts, but to see that, to feel that, to actually be able to invite that aspect of you into this present body right here and right now is really phenomenal. I mean, that is it has no words. I think we'll end up doing that as part of our little healing thing we're going to do.
Well, you do know what's really interesting? So I was watching briefly guided. I feel like we're guided to things that awaken kind of that memory, that soul, I call it the cellular memory. And so
Mm,
much of what we're doing is we draw more light in. We are rebundling our DNA, going back to, this junk DNA, which I believe to be so much of our memories, the memories that we've been disconnected from, that we're kind of reclaiming those lifetimes of mastery. Yesterday, I was guided to watch a show that I turned on for briefly, and it was about Persia. It was about Alexander the Great, and I wrote down last night that I wanted to go visit the area that what was once Persia, and I was writing down the very specific places in Iran that I wanted to go see. So it's really interesting that you're tuning into this white marble temple, and as soon as you were saying it, I was like, "Oh, that feels so familiar to me." And I feel like that's very similar. I feel like there's almost an aspect of opening the Akashic records when we bring on this felt sense of knowing, like that feels so familiar, this memory of places that we've maybe not been in this lifetime, cultures that maybe we don't really have an association with in this embodiment, but we can feel it. We're like, there's a film, like a deep sense of knowing that I've been there, or I've been a part of that culture, or I have lifetimes there. I've been in those temple spaces.
yeah, and I agree. I mean, that is empowering on a cellular level. We are
Mhm.
literally energetically reclaiming those cells into
Mhm.
our body when we can start to kind of imagine um, that we're merging with that soul and that body that we were way
Mhm.
back then. And I often will do this because it's really so fun and so powerful. It's like stepping into that that aspect that you
Yeah.
were in that moment with all of those gifts, and merging those two together. And it's phenomenally possible, right? Because our soul has, I don't know, thousands. I have to see if anyone has any numbers for me, really, like, but I'm like, there's thousands and thousands of aspects of us. Our
Mhm.
soul is humongous. And if you kind of go to if there's no time and space, then those 1,000 past lives I've had here on this planet alone, that means there's 1,000 aspects of me who are living out those lives just here. So that's just a little fractal of who I
Yeah.
really am, because go to all these other planets I've lived on, and
Yeah.
all these other aspects. There's probably millions of aspects of us. So
Yeah.
we can call this energy in, and it may not show up as I'm saying it may not, but it may. You know, it may not show up as like something that feels really concrete, but energetically, what happens is that we start to notice our gifts change. It will activate a gift in your body, and all of a sudden, you have the ability to be a very powerful hands-on healer where you never did that before, because that lifetime, you reclaim that gift from that lifetime, and now it's integrated into your body on a cellular level, and now you're like, ooh, I can feel that energy in my hands now, wow, you know. So it's fascinating to be able to have that
Mhm.
tool of the Akashic Records, to be able to kind of play with that again and again. I mean, I have spent, when I wrote my very first book, the record keepers, back in, was I think 2013, um, they said, it's time to write a book. And I said, okay, how? You know, again, I'm busy with now 3 teenagers or whatever, you know. And they actually gave me 2 steps, which were pretty phenomenal. And I thought, oh, that's easy, because they had told me to ask a woman who had taken my workshop, who had been a publisher for a little while, to call her up and ask her if she would edit my book. And I thought, oh, she's too busy. She's never going to say yes. I'm off the hook, right? So they gave me these 2 simple steps. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call Meg and see if she will edit this book. And I call her up, and yeah, I probably hadn't talked to her in 6 or 8 months. And I said, you know, the record keepers want me to write a book, and they said that you might edit it for me. And she said, you know what's so weird? I was just thinking yesterday that I hadn't done any kind of editing or publishing or any, you know, anything in the book world in quite a while. So she's like, yes. I'm like, wow, okay. You know, that's some power behind you.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
record keepers are here in service to us and to help and assist us. And they have made a lot of things happen in my life because I'm walking the path they're asking me to walk,
Mhm.
which is my soul path. It's the plan I made. So
Yeah.
it's not somebody else's plan, but they are there supporting it. And it's powerful.
It's having these incredible guides that know what the highest timeline is for you. And if you are willing to listen to their guidance, it might not always make complete logical sense. And you may think, there's no way that this is going to happen. This is going to work. Yet you take action and miracles and magic transpire. You're like, okay. And there's a certain level of, I don't know, excitement when you the awe-inspiringness of this reality when you receive the guidance, intuitively take action, and it just happens with so much ease and grace. And that's truly a quantum leap, is it not? Like you're going from one
It-
place to another like that. And
Right.
it's a really exciting, it's a powerful tool to be able to deeply support you to stay anchored into that highest timeline. And you got these incredible loving guides that want to support you in staying anchored into that highest timeline.
Right. It is really a phenomenal tool. And so, you know, to me, that lesson that I was actually very blessed to learn, you know, whatever that 25 years ago was, um, just say yes, you know, and just keep walking. You know, yes, I'm on board. Give me baby steps, was what I used to say back then.
Mm.
And so there's even a funnier story. So the book I'm talking about is The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records. This is the first book I wrote. And it is actually a how-to book. This book will actually teach you also my 5-step wisdom prayer system that I teach in my workshop. So I know a lot of people learn how to read the Akashic Records by reading and doing this like a workbook. It's like a class,
Mhm.
but the step-by-step 5-step wisdom prayer system. So if you want to learn to read your own records, the infinite wisdom of the Akashic Records is perfect. And here's another funny story about it. After Meg said yes, we did it, we edited it. I was part of a Get Your Book Done program. And I joined the what do they call it? It was kind of a contest. So there were 25 prizes, but the only reason I really joined the contest was that I wanted a deadline to get the book done. Now, I had spent 15 years in production at an ad agency, so I'm really good with a deadline, but without a deadline, forget it. It won't ever get done, right? So you give me a date and I will make it happen. So I thought, okay, I'm joining this. This is, I have to put my book proposal in for this contest, and I don't care if I don't win anything, but I just want the deadline so I get my book proposal done. So it happened. I got it in. The book contest happened, and I literally won the first prize, which was an agent. I actually won a lovely agent who got my book published by Red Wheel Publishing. So, I mean, talk about miraculous. The record keepers were piling it on because, again, those were early days. I said
Mhm.
yes, and they're like, okay, we have to do all this great stuff so that she sticks with it,
She
right?
said yes.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So that was like, wow, that was 2015. And
Wow.
that was phenomenal. But so say yes.
Yeah.
That's my big lesson from
I love that.
working in the records is if they ask you to do something, you know, say yes. They're not asking you to do anything that's going to be immoral. It might be hard. It might be challenging. Writing a book was not the easiest thing I've ever done.
Mhm.
But the other interesting aside about writing the book was that um, when I said to them how, they said, go into your Akashic records and keep asking to reclaim past life energy and information where you were an author, where you were a published author, where you
Mm.
could write with ease, where all these things happened for you. And so I would do that. Again, this energy of reclaiming past life gifts
Yeah.
and talents. I'd open my records and I'd be like, show me a past life in which I wrote with ease and I, wasn't stuck or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'd show me this lovely past life where I wrote like 50 books. And I'm like, guess if I could do it then, I could do it now.
Yeah.
So there's so many phenomenal gifts when you learn to work in the Akashic records. It's getting those big why questions
Mhm.
answered. That's the tip of the iceberg. But seriously, learning to read your own records and to work in the Akash and to have this guidance from these beings
Mhm.
of light who are totally in service to you is just life changing.
I am curious because I feel like somebody here may say, this sounds amazing. This is incredible. But I don't have the level of openness maybe that you do. I don't see or perceive or hear in the way that you do. And they may think that this isn't for them because they're not going to be able to get the same kind of clear guidance that you are. What would you say to those that may feel like this might not be for them because they don't feel that they're there?
I love that question. So, um, the record keepers have said it is everyone's birthright to have access into their Akashic records. So again, it becomes really important that we don't judge ourselves. Now, all of that said, I do say that I've had many students who have no other real backgrounds. I had a student many years ago who I think was she met me at a crystal fair and where I had a booth and she'd done a little bit of tarot and she just got really excited about the Akashic records and took my workshops and actually went all the way through. There's Akashic self mastery and then I teach a year-long program called Akashic Career Mastery where I actually train people to be certified Akashic readers and healers. And she went all the way through my teaching program and became a certified teacher to teach my work. And she had zero background. This was the shyest woman.
Mhm.
And I mean, It was amazing. So I've had, you know, many of those stories. And I've had, of course, plenty of stories where people get really stuck in the whatever, the energy of I can't see, I can't, I'm not getting anything,
Mhm,
I'm not getting
mhm,
anything. And of
mhm.
course, the more we go down, you know, that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
you know, the stronger the energy gets. So I teach people during, that's why I love the live workshop, because I teach all these guided visualizations. I teach you how to turn your analyzer off. I just really help people in so many different ways that you know, to support all of that, that they're um I do actually a 45-minute healing call with the class, you know, pre-recorded, to help clear your clairs, right? To clear your
Mhm,
clairvoyance, your
mhm,
clairaudience, your claircognizance, all of this stuff. So anyway, so it's really, really, really helpful to um do some of the pre-work, right, to clear clairs. I always say that if you have no background, maybe you want to take some kind of like a little energy healing class. Things like Reiki and theta healing all help to open these channels. There's a variety of different kind of psychic classes where you
mhm.
may work on your clairs for a while. All of that's good, you know,
Yeah.
background is great. It
Mhm,
certainly makes it easier. But even if you don't have any background, it doesn't mean that you can't access your records and start to kind of hear, know. The claircognizance is very strong, that clear
mhm,
knowingness. So you may kind of hear, which often sounds like your voice.
mhm,
You feel it in your heart. All of this is part and parcel of of how we receive information. We feel it in our bodies, right? We're clairsentient, we're claircognizant, we're clairvoyant, we're clairaudient. But I think most people fall back to expecting the clairvoyance. And probably 50% of the people never really get very strong clairvoyance. And so
mhm,
it's just understanding we have gifts in a variety of ways, and allowing them to come online is,
mhm.
you know, part of doing any kind of really deep spiritual work.
I think that's fantastic. You serve and support them to open up those capabilities, and I think there's a certain level of willingness and devotion to opening up those abilities too. Just like if you're learning to heal with light, the amount of light that would be able to come and be channeled through your being is going to be, and then you build those, it's like building new neural pathways, right? You widen the circuitry over time. And it just takes devotion and practice and a willingness and openness. So, yeah, I remember the first time I was ever guided to open my records in a workshop, play shop thing. And I was very new and I didn't see anything and I didn't hear anything, but I could feel energy intensely and I received messages. I was like, okay, and that's kind of it's interesting. I kind of feel that most of what I do every day, I'm tuning in and I'm asking, is something right for me? Right. Every moment before big choices and decisions, I'm really tuning in and asking if this is in alignment with my highest timeline. And without probably completely realizing it, I'm working in direct relation to and with my Akashic keepers and in direct communication. Like, yes, yes, go that way.
I know, and it's phenomenal to have your that true faith, right? That
Hmm.
trust in
Hmm.
that guidance. But
Yeah.
it is a practice. It is a
Yep.
process. And that's really in the end what people need to realize is that there's nothing out there that's a magic bullet. You
Hmm.
know, even though the record keepers have given me now 8 different access keys in the form of sacred prayers that will open the Akashic records. I can give you 8 keys, and 80 or 90% of the people will feel that shift, notice energy change, kind of get that. They'll go, "Ooh, yes, I feel this love, this peace,
Hmm.
this, ooh, I see this or feel that or know that," or but it's a process to literally, you know, turn that into a conversation,
Hmm.
which we can really do a deep conversation. I've channeled all these books. I didn't make it up. I just went, tell me, and I just write and write and write and write and write. But it's a practice of years
Yeah.
and years and years of asking a lot of questions and just
Uh-huh.
writing what I got, saw, felt, knew. The
Mhm.
claircognizance, I think, is often kind of an easy one to translate, or
Yeah.
um, clairaudience, some of that thinking. So it really is, and it's getting easier because we're raising the vibration of the planet, and it's
Yeah.
getting really easier to access the higher energies. So the time to try is now, is what I would
Yeah.
say.
And I like to say too, we're on like kind of a need to know basis a lot of times. So you're never gonna get more information than you necessarily need in that moment, which is what kind of what you said earlier, right? Baby steps. It's not, which is really kind of nice. It's like you have this idea, this dream that you want to birth and you want to bring forward. And sometimes we can get so overwhelmed because we don't know how we're gonna get from here to here. And it seems like it's like the elephant, right? You've got to take a one bite at a time. It's really nice because I feel like the Akashic Records is exactly that. It's like, giving you these bites at a time, these little baby steps of real actionable steps what you can do right now to create momentum and start getting you towards the direction of where you want to go, that you designed for your life experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is such a perfect tool for that. And it's like, even when people say, what's my purpose? It's never a job description. It's, you may have been some type of healer, and it may be a specific type. Maybe it's hands-on, or maybe it's more
Mhm.
medicinal. Maybe you grew herbs and made medicines, or maybe you were a channel or an oracle, or accessing the Akash, right?
Mhm.
So healer, psychic, all of that can have many different types.
Yeah.
So often we have a kind of maybe a flavor or a type. Um, and sometimes we've had so many of all of the above. It's
Yeah.
really free will. We always have to realize that free will comes into play. What do I like in this lifetime, right?
Mhm.
What kind of healing is fun or easy for me, or what
Mhm.
kind of reading is joyful, right? So then we get the choice also. So you wrote a plan, but it's got those choices and free will, so it's not um written in stone, right? It's not predestined or ordained. And I think that's an important thing for people really to realize too, is that you can do none of it and nothing bad will happen. You just will probably leave the earth at one point and decide, oh, I really want to actually do that stuff. Darn,
Mhm.
now I'm going to go back.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. Oh, I feel that. Uh, interestingly enough, and I do want us to move into the guided exercise that you had mentioned because I'm really excited about that experience. But interestingly enough, the source codex that we were working with this morning was I am super abundance, and talking about kind of our each person's access to abundance and prosperity being, a unique soul plan in and of itself that really is aligned with us following our joy, which is again so aligned with what you're sharing, following our joy, what we enjoy, that lights us up, that so it's not work, it really is play, it's our passion that we're birthing, and that's kind of our pathway to that. And as I was going through all of your links, your YouTube opened up, and the video that started playing was, of course, talking about using the Akashic Records specifically as it relates to abundance and wealth and finances and improving your financial um, access. And I just found it really interesting because you did talk into the fact that many of us have contracts, the potentiality for soul contracts in other lifetimes. So again, this kind of way also working with the multidimensionality of these other lifetimes and how they could maybe bleed into or impact or affect us in this lifetime. And I think there's a lot of value in understanding that. Is there anything that you want to speak into as it relates to that?
Yes, absolutely. So again, often I'll have clients who come to me who have, money challenges. They've got abundance issues, and the record keepers usually will kind of rattle off 4, 5, 6 layers of energy that are affecting them. So we are ancient and complex again, right? So we have to, if we get that through our head, we're kind of saving ourselves. It's not anything you've done in this lifetime. We made vows of poverty because we've had, 4 other lifetimes where we've been a monk or a priest or some kind of ascetic, and we've said, taken vows of poverty. So we want to release those. We want to release the beliefs that, that money is evil, or that some of that may come from those lifetimes as well as childhood. Maybe we went to church and we had a priest who was particularly angry, like to rant about money being evil. But give it to me, I'll take it for you, and I can handle it, but you can't, right? So those kind of layers. We have ancestral lineage energy. We actually even sometimes have what I would call a curse, some kind of damage or really negative energy in our ancestral lineage, which keeps money from flowing through our lives, through our lineage. So that's like 3 layers right there.
Mhm.
And then we may have had other lifetimes, say, where we got killed because we were really rich and we were made another vow, right? Oh, I'm never going to be rich again. That was terrible. Or at other kinds of lifetimes, maybe we were mean and ornery and greedy, and we had no family or friends. Again, now we're really lonely. So the money has affected, it's not just about money, it's about what we've done with it in other lifetimes, how we've used it, how it's made us feel, and how we relate to it. So if you take a vow of poverty, which says something like, I won't take money for my spiritual gifts. Well, I could say that because I lived in a monastery and I had a roof over my head and I was clothed and I was fed. I could do that then. That's not true in this lifetime. If I got killed, right? Maybe I was robbed on the road back in the,
Mhm.
1500s or something. I'm like, I never want to have money again. That got me killed. Well, it's possible you could have that experience in this
Mhm.
life, but it's more about our own safety and the karmic patterns around that, and maybe the way we treat people when we have money. And you're right, it's about the
Mhm.
flow of the energy of abundance through our bodies. And so there's all these layers, and I would venture to say that most of us have a bunch of those layers, and so working on that through your Akashic record can be so, again, helpful, healing, empowering, to start to realize again. And then we can ask our record keepers to upgrade, really, our body, our energy field, bring in greater abundance energies, like codes of abundance. We can
Mhm.
open our heart to receive more. I like to do a little work around, if you imagine that in these lifetimes where maybe you were very poor, or maybe you were a monk, and every day you go out with just a little beggar bowl, just get a little bit of rice, a piece of fruit, whatever, that was enough. That was all you needed. That was all you wanted. That's all you had room for. Your havingness scale was this big, like your little hands, right? Whereas now in our world, you would need a vessel, as big as your body or bigger, or right, to let all the goodness of the universe flow to and through you, to be able to be that vessel for good out into the world, right? So many of us as light workers are working on, you know, having enough so that we can create healing centers, so that we can donate a lot of money out to
Mhm.
our, causes that are dear to our heart, to help bring greater equanimity or equality into the world financially that way. So it's a big, big piece that's been very stuck on our planet for so
Mhm.
long. And so levels and levels and layers and layers. And
Yeah.
it's important, really to do so we can unwrite. That's literally what we're doing. We're
Mhm.
unwriting those old records of whatever fear or vows of poverty, or beliefs in evil, that money's evil or bad. Um, and some of the stories maybe we heard from our families. So that, as we do that energetically, we are literally rewriting our Akashic record. We're erasing old stories and writing new, and that is literally transforming us. That is helping us to really make a leap from the old to the new energetically. So
Thank you so much. And I think that's just absolutely incredible. Do you guys not think that that is amazing that we can, again, all of these lifetimes happening in the now moment, and we have the capability to rewrite those lifetimes in a lot of ways and rewrite those stories to make a difference and an impact on the life that we're experiencing rather from this perspective in this now moment. It's amazing to understand that we are always rewriting our story. We're always rewriting our story.
right, and the more consciously we can do it, right, the
Mhm.
faster we're rewriting it, the more, again, access we have into realizing maybe what we used to think. And that could be a year ago, or 20 years ago,
Mhm.
where we felt like we were the victim of our family, where we felt that we were stuck because we were born with whatever the story was, whatever the challenges, emotional pain and trauma is about. We can get stuck in that and just keep trying to heal it and revisiting
Mhm.
it and reworking it. But when we can look at that big picture of who you are as that infinite soul and realize that there's a lesson, that it's like, what can I learn? What can I release so I can understand this, so I can share the wisdom and the gifts
Mhm.
that I'm getting with other people? Then it really becomes transformational for you, and it can be very instantaneous.
I love that. It's not just about rewriting the story because the story makes you uncomfortable. It's right. It's about realizing that you chose that story. You chose that belief. You chose that experience because you knew that you could learn something from it.
Right. And there are gifts in there for you and for others, right?
Mhm.
Gifts for you to share if you choose. And you may share them with one other person. It doesn't matter. That is a big deal, right?
Mhm.
That could be a huge deal for that
Mhm.
one other person that you share your wisdom with. Or maybe you go out and you write a book or become a teacher or a
Mhm.
speaker or a therapist or a healer, right? Or a coach, whatever all it is, where you're sharing your wisdom in a bigger platform. But
Mhm.
that's really why so many of the light workers are here right now, is to really start to flip the world, to flip the energy to a higher vibration, to create heaven on earth. So it is an
Mhm.
exciting time. And to me, the Akashic records are one of the greatest empowerment tools on the planet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And I pray and hope that you guys have some deeper understanding of the Akashic records and their existence. Maybe that's new to you in general. But if you're feeling inspired to begin working with your personal Akashic records, she's already offered 4 incredible books that can get you started, get you familiar with her body of work, in addition to her consistent and regular trainings if you want to take it even deeper and you want I like what you had said. There's something to be said about the accountability piece, right? For you in the book, you had this deadline. You knew that that was going to hold you accountable. If you're somebody that has no problem learning the thing, but there's something about applying it, then programs are an incredible way to have a team of support and accountability so that you can learn and train and practice and actually apply what it is that you're learning to be able to grow and expand those gifts, those talents, that divine knowing, that lifetimes of mastery that are quite literally coming online. And I think very similarly, it's a tool that's for everybody. And I think specific people will like really light up by this conversation, right? Like they'll really feel and know that that might be the next step for them, for their journey, the next thing that that will really deeply support them and call them forward in some way.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And there are many ways to do it. Like I say, you can read the infinite wisdom of the Akashic record, and I've written out my whole 5 step wisdom for that system right there in that book. But you know, many people like to show up for a class once or twice a week and have me hold the energy and
Yeah.
answer their personal questions and, you know, help. Is this really the Akashic Records or is this me? You know, all those
Yeah.
kind of questions that we
Yeah.
all have as beginners, right? So
Absolutely.
hopefully people will join me one way or another and learn to
Yeah.
access their records and really, because it is your birthright. That's what the record
Yeah.
keeper said all those years ago. It is everyone's birthright to have access into this huge library of your soul.
Yeah. So good. I love, there's so many people that are, I've gotten a few personal messages too, just really deeply appreciating this information. We have D Royal in here saying very inspiring, beautiful, enlightening to know this information. Fun Fun said, I found myself here in this portal.
Mm, mm.
So if we have time, it's up to you. I don't know how long you feel that you need. I know this group is always down to stay and receive and undergo and experience or practice.
Yeah, yeah,
If that,
absolutely. I'm feeling that it would be really fun and empowering to take everybody on a little journey. And, you know, as the record keepers were giving me that image of that beautiful temple in Persia, um, I'm also seeing just a couple of other kind of archetypical healing, something past lives. So we're going to kind of, I don't know how it's going to come through. I never know. But we're going to reclaim some of these ancient gifts. So I'm seeing this ancient mystery schools. All of these gifts seem to be back around 2 to 3,000 BC.
mm,
And I'm seeing an alchemist also. Kind of a lot of this is Middle East. There's some priests and priestesses in ancient Egypt that they're showing me. So very fun. So let's go on a little journey into the Akash, and then we will go outside of time and space in the quantum field to reclaim these past lives where we were these beautiful teachers and healers and priests and priestesses and wise women and wise men. And so those are always so empowering to reclaim those energies. And, you know, some people may, you know, resonate with one or two or all of them, or it doesn't matter. We'll just know that your record keeper. So we're going to open the records. I'm going to bring everybody into the Akasha with me, and we will call in our record keepers so you can feel that um, they're them with you, and so they will be kind of uh, working, you know, specifically with you. So for whatever your highest and best good is, they'll be doing this, the specifics of energetically merging some of these past lives into your body, and I will just guide you through that all together verbally. So so let's just start with our feet on the ground and closing your eyes if you can. You're in a quiet, safe place to just relax back. And we'll just start with a nice deep breath into our heart center, fourth chakra opening and expanding. I often see the fourth chakra heart like more of a ball. So we invite our heart to open as wide as our physical body right now, just expanding as we breathe into it. And we have a high heart, which is a sacred heart or a spiritual heart that's up a little bit higher on the chest. It's a subset of the chakras, but we're going to invite our spiritual heart, our high heart, to also open and expand and literally merge with our fourth chakra heart. So we're creating this two-layered chakra, spiritual, sacred heart. Because of course, it is through our expanded sacred heart that we're accessing into the Akash, as well as through the crown chakra. So it's a multi-dimensional energy, and we kind of access it through these multi-dimensional ways. So just feeling your heart open and get really wide as your body, or a little wider, say if you're in your home. And then let's just connect to our dear Gaia beneath our feet. I like us to be grounded into our body so our body feels comfortable and safe as we go on this journey. So let's just create, with your feet on the ground, imagine that you're growing some roots from the bottom of your feet deep down into the earth. Getting nice and grounded with those grounding cords. And then the record keepers have us do a tripod grounding system. So the third grounding cord is from the base of the spine, kind of like a big tail that goes all the way down into the earth. And wrap that around the core of the earth. So we're nice and grounded, body feeling solid, present, really honored with our intention to hold this energy really clearly also for the body. And our hearts are open. We can invite our crown chakra to open a little bit wider if that's comfortable. And we ask the divine lords of unconditional love to help us center fully in this moment as we create this sacred space. Please wrap us in your love and protection and allow us to travel to the highest realms of the Akasha available to us today. Please help us relay our multi-dimensional hearts open to divine love and release all resistance. Lords of the Akashic Record, please guide us to the deepest truth we can access now. Support us in healing and releasing that which no longer serves on our true path. We give great thanks for your divine love and support on this journey today. Just letting yourself breathe, letting your heart expand. Notice what you notice as we create this beautiful column of Akashic energy around us all, around the world. So I actually see this silvery blue energy encircling Gaia and going all the way up into the quantum field of Source. So just feeling what you feel, notice what you notice. You might see the energy, you might feel the beautiful column of light around you. And we invite our record keepers, each one of you have your own record keepers, and we invite them. If you wish, just say, please, my record keepers, come in for me. And we connect to our own personal record keepers. And we invite them to assist us in this journey. And as we move outside of time and space in this quantum field, we ask our record keepers to take us back to lives where we were empowered as healers, as spiritual teachers, as leaders, where we were part of the ancient mystery schools, we were part of great temples, where we did our healing work, where we were priests or priestesses in ancient Egypt, ancient Jordan. So much of the Middle East was really filled with amazing energy, information temples. I see the alchemists coming forward, and the Egyptian priests and priestesses, many different from Persia, which included all the way up Middle East up to around Turkey, around the Mediterranean. Beautiful, deep wisdom. And so we ask our record keepers to show us one or two of those lives. Whether we see it, maybe we feel it in our body. Maybe we're remembering it already, almost on a cellular level. We are asking our beautiful record keepers to help us remember the truth of who we are as wise ancient beings, as these beautiful healers. Mm. Just feeling it down in your heart and your body, all the way down through your body into your feet. As it reverberates through your energy field, actually opening and connecting into some of your chakra system and your energy channels. We ask our personal record keepers to bring these beautiful gifts and talents, whether it from one life or from half a dozen or more lives, to bring that fully present into your physical body in this moment. So because there is no time and space in the quantum, we can reclaim these gifts, these memories, these talents, this wisdom, the love, the compassion, all the gifts we had in that lifetime. And if you see you as a person, I often will see myself as a teacher in the ancient mystery schools. I'll see myself standing in the school in kind of flowing robes, or I'll see myself as a priestess in some of the ancient Egyptian mystery schools. We invite that aspect of ourselves to come and merge into your body right here and right now. So you may see it as one. I sometimes see that person almost like they sit down and merge into my body, or I feel myself energetically stand up and merge into their body as we are integrating on a cellular level these ancient, beautiful beings that are us, that are part of us, an aspect of your soul. And you might do that once or twice, or maybe you've got 3 or 4 past lives that are just merging in with ease and grace. Whatever you feel is perfect. Whatever you notice. We'll take a moment to ask our record keepers to integrate with ease and grace, bringing all this energy present right here and right now into the physical body that you're in now. And we'll put a nice time release bubble around everybody to let this integration continue over the next 3 or 4 days so that it continues to integrate into your body so that you can start to notice the gifts and talents that are integrating again with ease as is appropriate. And we fill ourselves up with our highest Akashic wisdom, all the beautiful high wisdom that we can hold in this moment now. And we thank our record keepers for the love and the gift of this travel, of this ability to reclaim past life wisdom and gifts, to remember the truth of who we are. We thank them. And we close and lock the collective record for now, and so it is. Thus it be. So again, find your feet on the floor. Find your body sitting right where you left it. When you're ready, just coming present and opening your eyes. Lovely.
How do you guys feel? How was that experience for you? Let us know in the chat. I personally, there was a lifetime where I was someone who sang and my throat started tickling and I started coughing. I was like, ah! As the whatever was restructuring and being downloaded at a I was like, okay, all right, something's coming online. I like it.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah.
exciting, right? You might start playing with your voice, over the
Mhm.
next few days and see what's showing up. And it's always so important to just to play with these gifts and honor them. And of course, gratitude for the changes, just
Mhm.
being grateful to source, to our record keepers for all of the ability to start to bring gifts online that have been sometimes offline for thousands of years.
Mhm.
And so very fun, beautiful.
I love it. Chanel says, thank you. I felt great. I was with an Indian tribe and I merged with a female and a male. Very interesting.
Oh, that is very interesting, especially because a lot of people have soul contracts to help rebalance divine masculine and divine feminine. And a lot of the native tribes all over the world were really balanced in that way.
Mm.
So I think that's very cool and interesting that you kind of remerged with both. Again, probably rebalancing that. Um, I would say that you have a soul contract to help to do that work on the planet, to help rebalance. And we do that in so many ways, sometimes by these sorts of meditations, by in our personal relationships with our family members, with our friends, internally within ourselves. We all have a masculine channel and a feminine channel running in our body. So rebalancing that within ourselves, so important. So thank you for sharing.
So good. Pal said that she didn't see anything for her past lives, but she did feel her third eye tingling as if something was
Mhm.
clearing and unblocking itself.
Right? That is often especially a lot of the process as we're starting to open to receive, right? Opening
Mhm.
those channels, opening the third eye, the pineal, the crown chakra, our heart, opening our clairs, our gut, our third chakra,
Mhm.
right? Our voice to speak our truth. So a lot of the work that I see my students work on is a lot of the just release, open further. Sometimes we feel it in our body. That's perfect. Sometimes we
Mhm.
just know what the story was, where we were, what happened. It's all perfect. It's part of our path and part of our um, process of moving deeper into the Akash.
Mm. one more share. There was D. Royal who said that she seemed to leave her body and then come back and re-enter her
Mm.
body in that experience, which I feel like is this integration of what was perhaps being received.
Right, right. We're moving outside of time and space. So that might feel like you're going back in time, you're going to another world. That's why I want the physical body to be grounded and feel safe where it
Mhm,
is, because we literally are kind of moving out and
mhm.
expanding tremendously and moving around this non time space continuum. And then we want to bring that all back here right now and ground it
Yeah.
back in. So absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
A couple more. There was Layla who said that she could see herself in like an Easter Island type of setting dancing the hula and felt that there was something around the sacredness of information being communicated through movement for that
Mhm.
lifetime.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Another, I saw a bluish glowing light in their head and a beam flowing out to another bluish light above. It felt like something to do with telepathy.
Mm. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. That's so
Right.
fascinating, right? I
Right.
mean, there is no normal. There is
Right.
these realms, and really the truth of who we are. We are so ancient and so infinite. So sometimes it's other lifetimes. It could be a galactic past life. It could be a non-earthly
Mm,
past life. It could be, really ancient earthly life. So
yeah.
um, very, very cool. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, and I that was kind of my exploration too of unpacking lifetimes of memories from this planet. And then I realized then the more galactic lifetimes started to funnel in. And then it was just this discovery of, and the whole reason behind this experience is, oh, I am one with source. I am one with the one infinite creator. There are a myriad of life experiences and things that I've been, and it's not about attaching to any one. They're all incredible and interesting, and some, were more fancy, as in, are more exciting lives, I guess is the word that wants to be used, and some were really, what we some may deem as boring, but also really beautiful, like farm lifestyles and stuff. So it's beautiful and it's a lot of fun. And I love getting to borrow on and remember the energy of our many myriads of lives of mastery across the multiverse. And then we always come home to the deepest, the top of the pyramid, the highest truth of who we be as infinite source creator beings here
Mm,
experiencing ourselves.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. So it really is. And to me, these exercises, this is one way to really know that you are
Yeah.
one with source, that you are part of the all, that you have been
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of different kinds of beings, right? In
Yeah.
different forms. I've seen myself in weird fog, like frog kind of form. I've seen myself as like a walking stick on some strange dry planet. You're like, oh, that's a trip, right?
Yeah.
We do it all.
Yeah. Balls of light and flashes of light and things that are like not even embodied in what we would think are embodied forms. I mean, there's so many interesting things. You
Yeah.
guys are so vast. You're so ancient, so vast, so gifted, so talented, so many lifetimes of mastery. Yeah. Well, you guys, I'm going to share in the chat. There are so many ways in which you can get familiarized with her work. Tej, if you are here still, if you could maybe grab her a link to her Amazon. I don't know, is that where you would send people to get your books, or do you have them on your website?
You can go to my website and you'll see them all
Perfect.
on the home page. And
Awesome.
usually it will lead you to Amazon, but you
Okay.
can get the titles and see that all there.
Perfect. And there's also a free gift in the chat as well. This is an infinite connection meditation, is what it says.
Hmm. So basically, I'm bringing you back into the Akashic Records with me, kind of like we did in the beginning. And we're also doing kind of a very heart-centered meditation. And from there, you could go journeying back again if you wanted. So it really is helping you to open your Akash and connect into the Akashic Records. So
Yeah.
you can start to practice that and clear your clairs and ask your record keepers to help you
Mhm.
to open your heart, whatever might be coming up for you. So you can use that meditation as a way to open your records.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And that's, I shared one of the prayer for financial abundance in this morning session.
Mhm.
And almost all of your prayers, I mean, they're Akashic in nature, right? Which is the beauty of them, is that you really are working with your multidimensional nature, whether that be family lineages or past life stuff. We're just there. It's very, much anchored in that we are so vast and so multidimensional. And we've got all of these books, all of these stories that are actually being written, but also that we can tap into for. I love that. But also what I'm noticing too that I love that you brought forward is that we can borrow on the good things from the lives. Because how
Yes,
often do we focus on the stuff that's
yes,
not so great? And we're like, oh, that's bleeding into this lifetime. I've got this curse or this soul contract that's not serving me. It's like, and your lives offer you incredibly beautiful things too, like really beautiful things that you can borrow on. So I just noticed that. That's
yes.
beautiful.
It honestly has become so much more kind of prevalent and important from the record keepers over time, which is like, yeah, let's clear the old garbage, great, whatever,
Yeah.
but let's also reclaim the gifts. So if you were killed as a witch, likelihood you had some great gifts. So let's clear the emotional pain and trauma so we can reclaim the gifts.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, you guys, the ways in which you can work within the Akashic records are as infinite as there are aspects of source creator. And I love that it's returned for us to be able to utilize because the time is now, and so it's available for you, and it's just a matter of learning and practicing how to tap in and what to ask and just getting comfortable with it, right? Getting more confident as you utilize it. So thank you so much. So much for coming and sharing. And it really means an incredible lot to me. Again, these prayers have been so pivotal. They were and are so pivotal. And even now, I have prayers that I write everywhere that are so, the voice of you and what you've produced here is so deeply inspired in what I offer just naturally because these prayers were such a big part of my life for so many years. And so I'm deeply grateful and honored that you said yes to offering your time and your wisdom to this space.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate you and you sharing all about all of this,
Yeah.
with everybody. And I so appreciate everyone who showed up. And I loved going on that journey together with all of you. It is so fun. And I know every time we do this, we get together as a group and we're healing old energies and we're
Mhm.
reclaiming these gifts that we've honed over thousands and thousands of years. It's time
Yeah.
to reclaim them, to use them, to transform our planet with all of the gifts that we've already honed. So I am thrilled to be seeing everybody also as we create the new earth. So hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Yeah.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I pray that you all just have a glorious and deeply nourishing weekend ahead. This has been such an incredible journey. We've got a few more days left next week. So thank you all. Enjoy your weekend and we'll see you on Monday. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Oh, thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye-bye.
Tanya.